Greetings. If you missed Sunrise Bible Study this morning, I'm going to present to you the questions and answers that we discussed as a class. Our first question is as follows. Okay, we read into our spirit 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 11 through 13, and as a class we discussed the question. Paul's instruction struck a balance between helping people but not enabling their idleness. Do our churches do a good job of that today? And our summary to that one is in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 11 through 13, this presents a challenge for the modern churches, how to offer grace and support to those in need, particularly widows, while ensuring resources are used wisely and idleness is discouraged. Applying Paul's instruction in today's context requires a nuanced approach that balances compassion with accountability. A modern day application, shifting context. While the social context of Ephesus differs greatly from today, the core principles of responsible stewardship and supporting those in need remain just as relevant. Here are 3 church examples. Hope City Ministry in Baltimore. It provides homeless families with transitional housing and comprehensive support service, including job training and child care, enabling long-term self-sufficiency. The Gathering Project of Denver. It empowers single mothers through peer support groups, financial literacy workshops, and child care assistance, helping them overcome barriers to re-entering the workforce. The Lutheran Service of the Carolinas in Charlotte. It connects refugees with resettlement services, English language classes, and job placement assistance, fostering their integration and economic independence. These examples demonstrate how churches can actively implement the principles of 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 11 through 13 by fostering self-reliance, offering practical support, and holding individuals accountable for their choices. Okay, and our next question that we read into our spirit. After reading to our spirit 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 14 through 15, as a class, the question was, you often hear today small differences of opinion within the church flaring up into huge disagreements. What is it about the church and its members that allows that to happen? And our summary on that one is, in a modern day church, we've all witnessed it. A minor difference of opinion sparks a wildfire of disagreement. What was once a friendly discussion becomes a battleground, leaving us wondering how tiny embers could morph into such destructive infernos. In 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 14 through 15, this offers a surprising perspective on this phenomenon, providing hints about the characteristics of a church and its members that can contribute to such unfortunate escalations. Verse 14, therefore I want younger widows to marry, bear children, keep house, give the adversary no occasion to reproach. Here Paul addresses a potential source of conflict within the early church. Younger widows, their situation likely vulnerable and prone to idleness, presented an opportunity for reproach. Both the widows themselves and the wider church. Paul's solutions, while culturally specific, highlights a key point, and that is that unmet needs and unaddressed vulnerabilities can become breeding grounds for discontentment and conflict. Verse 15, for already some have turned aside to follow Satan. This stark warning reveals the potential outcome of unchecked conflict. When small disagreements fester, unaddressed needs turn into resentment, and resentment can ultimately lead to a complete separation from the community and its values. In a church context, this could manifest as individuals forming cliques, harboring bitterness, or even leaving the church altogether. So what are some characteristics of a church and its members that allow small differences to escalate into major disagreements? Here are 5 points. Lack of grace and understanding. Instead of approaching differences with empathy and a willingness to see another's perspective, we may resort to judgment and criticism. This creates defensive walls and hinders constructive dialogue. Unmet needs and unresolved issues. When individuals within the church have unmet needs or unresolved issues, they may become more easily triggered by minor disagreements. These underlying burdens can distort their perception of the situation and fuel their reactions. Absence of healthy communication. Open and honest communication is crucial for resolving conflict. Churches that lack effective communication channels or discourage honest dialogue, create fertile ground for misunderstandings and misinterpretations. Focus on differences over unity. When we fixate on what divides us rather than what unites us, minor disagreements can quickly appear insurmountable. A strong sense of shared purpose and common ground is essential for navigating differences constructively. Leadership that fails to model healthy conflict resolution. Church leaders have a significant responsibility to model how to disagree and engage in conflict constructively. If leaders themselves resort to unhealthy tactics, it sets a negative precedent for the entire community. So going forward, while Paul's specific advice may not directly be applicable to our modern context, the underlying principles remain relevant. By examining the characteristics that contribute to conflict escalation, we can work towards creating a church community where small differences don't turn into blazing controversies. This requires intentional effort to address unmet needs, foster open communication, cultivate understanding, and prioritize unity over division. Remember, a church united in grace, open to honest dialogue, and committed to resolving conflict constructively can weather any storm, no matter how small the initial spark. And our third and final question, after we read into our spirit 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 16, was which role of elders, ruling, or teaching seems to breed the most conflict? Okay. And our summary to that one is in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 16, this throws down a challenge for modern churches. This verse introduces the two main functions of elders: ruling, administration and leadership, and teaching, spiritual guidance and instruction. But which role in the context of a modern church is more likely to generate conflict? Here's a delve into the nuances. The case for ruling elders: decision making and conflict resolution. These elders handle sensitive issues like finance, membership, and potential disciplinary action. Inevitably, their decisions will not please everyone, potentially leading to resentment and disagreement. Internal politics and power dynamics. Navigating interpersonal relationships within the church leadership can be tricky. Differing opinions on priorities and approaches can easily escalate into friction. Resource allocation and budgetary struggles. Balancing competing needs and managing limited resources can be a thankless job, often pitting different ministries and groups against each other. Okay, the case for teaching elders: doctrinal disagreements and theological interpretations. Teaching on sensitive topics like homosexuality, salvation, or end times can ignite controversy, especially in diverse congregations. Personal biases and blind spots. Unconscious biases or outdated approaches can rub people the wrong way, creating tensions and potentially alienating certain groups. Misunderstandings and misinterpretations. Communication breakdowns and differing learning styles can lead to confusion and frustration, breeding further conflict. So, who's the conflict king? It's not a clear-cut answer. Both roles have inherent potential for conflict, depending on the context and individual personalities. However, some argue that teaching elders face a bigger risk due to the subjective nature of faith and the ever-shifting landscape of societal values. Ruling elders, while handling sensitive issues, often operate within a more established framework and procedures, potentially mitigating conflict. But ultimately, it's not about pitting the roles against each other. The key lies in clear communication and transparency. Both rulers and teachers should engage in open and honest dialogue to ensure everyone understands their roles and decisions. Mutual respect and collaboration, recognizing the interdependence of both functions and fostering a spirit of teamwork can minimize friction. Humility and grace, accepting that mistakes and disagreements are inevitable and approaching them with empathy and understanding can help navigate conflict constructively. Remember, 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 16 emphasizes honor, not conflict. By focusing on servicing the church with humility and wisdom, both ruling and teaching elders can contribute to a thriving community where conflict serves as an opportunity for growth, not division. All right, that was our last one. Okay, so our next class will be Thursday morning, the 25th at 6 a.m. That will be the next class. Hope to see you there. God bless.